after the what we got? Okay, let's go. Jump this. Good. Just we had a pandemic. We had
Oh yeah.
Hollywood begging every animator to save their butt, which was nice for those of us with the right connections. And then the new work order of remote work was a nice attribute. So I can't complain about that. So
Yeah, for
how
sure.
about
Which
you?
a lot of
How are
people are
things on
still
your end?
doing, huh?
Education.
Huh?
How about you? How are things on your end of education?
Education's great. Let me tell you. I mean, it same deal. Pandemic. We were at home, and after that, everything was supposed to go back to normal. So we're just still trying to figure out how to deal with like isolation, students not still being there. Like just mentally, because it's been
Right,
difficult
right.
for them to transition back from being at home for so long. But
Mm.
now that we're back in the classroom, we've been back in the classroom now for a good amount of time. I mean, it's just a great opportunity to be able to create new perspectives for the students and give them as much industry connections as possible, or bring that industry into the classroom. We can't have you guys in our classrooms all the time, but if we can get that perspective, it really helps kind of push them in that right direction. Meaning going on to college, secondary, and then eventually, if they want to go industry, they can go industry. So.
Oh yeah, well, a lot of things, from graduation to working professional. I mean, the biggest thing that everyone, like the graphic that I shared with you recently, everyone, when you first start graduating, you think, if my portfolio is great, if everything I do is the right software, if I have the right everything that the classroom has taught me, that's going to make the difference. But in Hollywood, 95% of it is who you know as well as what you know. And so, there's a few fundamental things I always tell young ones when they come up and ask me, how do I get to point B where you are? And one of the first things I say is, major in what you want to major in, but minor in business. Because if you can learn to drop in any environment and know how to make money, know how to, the fundamentals of business, which is quality product and then relationships. And if you understand how that works, that's at least a foundation to start. But if you can learn to, just like a special forces, be dropped in any environment and know how to make money, you have a superpower that is beyond just the studio rise and fall. And so
Yeah.
I always tell young ones those two principles. Three things. First off, sure, get a master's in animation, but with all the bells and whistles, how to properly do all the software and hardware, but learn fundamentals of business. Because if you don't know how to make money, you're going to fail more often than succeed in life, just in general. The second thing I always talk about is the importance of keeping in contact with your classmates. A lot of, as artists, we're not all, but majority of us are introverts. We want to go hide in our cave, do our paintings, and then hopefully someone will come deep into our cave and look at our paintings and say, let me hire you. That's just not how life works. Life benefits, unfortunately, the extrovert, and I'm blessed to be an extrovert. But I work with tons of introverts, and so I get the nightmare, that the exhaustingness of being in crowds, the exhaustiveness of not knowing social cues, a variety of skills that you're uncomfortable learning. But
Yeah.
the biggest thing about life doesn't care if you're comfortable. Life doesn't care if you feel good doing something. Life says this is what's required of you. You either do it or you eat cat food. That's kind of the fundamentals of how it works. And so the more you get used to the idea of being comfortable at being uncomfortable, the more bold you're going to be in your career on pitching in front of multimillionaires, or pitching in front of executive students, or even pitching to the guys in the parking lot. I recently got a job just walking in Ralph's parking lot. I noticed this guy's license plate. It said filmmaker. It was pretty easy pitch there. I pitched a gazillion times, and so I walk up to him and I said, I always go for a storyboard pitch, because most filmmakers need storyboards, and it's a relatively inexpensive in and out production wise. And so I went with my storyboard pitch, and he's like, right now I don't need a storyboard artist, but I do need animation. I'm like, well, what an interesting phenomenon. Bam, and I did my story animation pitch. Now we're doing animation for him on a documentary on something coming down the pipeline, which is gonna be great. But the short answer is, learning to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations is so fundamental in anyone's just growth as a human. I get it. As artists, we have emotions and we feel deeply about things, and these are skills that you need to learn I guess ride the wave like surfing, because they're great when you're trying to bring the character out and give performances, et cetera, et cetera. But they're such a deceiver when it comes to fundamentally, making your budgets work, approaching people, a variety of things. You are not a glass house. Everyone can't just see right through you. What you project generally will be what people will see. And so try to project confidence and just who you are as a creator. Even in my I shamelessly advertise all the time right here, eat, sleep, and animate, repeat. I bought the shirt deliberately because you are your best advertisement, and a lot of young ones just getting out of college, they want the studio to come banging on their door, but I promise you that's just not the way this industry works. You bust your tail 24/7, and sometimes you still don't even get the good jobs that you want. You get what you can. Like I just applied for this major a storyboard gig, and even though I've been in this industry for a variety of years, and Disney, Warner Brothers, Sony, Fox, just an ungodly amount of stuff, they literally said, I don't think you have the experience to do what we need to do. And I was just like, okay, well, your loss, I'm gonna move on.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but it's been a while since I've heard that come back at me, where like, I don't think you have the experience to do the job. I'm like, well, maybe you didn't read my resume close enough, but okay, you're lost. Let's move on.
Yeah.
So it is an interesting journey as we go from point A to point B. But that's initially what I would talk to young folks about, right out of the gate.
Very cool. Awesome. You know what? Let me just give you a brief description of what we do here. Because I teach at two places. I teach at the high school level, and I teach at the college level. But it's a 1-year program, and it's a full-on traditional vector pipeline that we run here. We articulate with the college through the high school, and at the community college level, our aim is to either send them Cal State, UC, or if they want to go industry, we try to connect them as much as possible. But it's from pre-production through post. What the students pick up is everything from storyboarding to building animatics to building stories to learning about perspective, figure form, anatomy, character design. And then we take them into just some of the basics of animation, from working with like the bouncing ball, pendulums, flower stacks, walks, runs, you name it. We put them through the full cycle of it. They still, on top of that, have to pick up software. So we do Adobe Animate, because most of the schools, it's easier for them to work with the Adobe Animate suite. At the college level, we're doing TV Ink and Paint. We're also doing Toon Boom. At the high school level, it's more Adobe Animate, but we're transitioning onto Toon Boom. There's a lot that gets thrown at them, and at the end of the day, or at the end of that year, they have enough of that understanding to be able to build a film. So we get them to show that full spectrum of knowledge in that film. Question would be, should that be the main focus at the end of that stage? Should we focus on just one section of production? Should we, being, for example, I have colleagues that I worked with that will tell me pre-production is the best section for your students to focus on, because that's where we have the most work. But what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that it should be a full spectrum, or should be just one section of?
The first thing I think and write this down because it's important.
Yeah.
The first thing, you're doing a huge misservice to all of your students.
Yeah.
On not giving them the foundational pillar, and I say pillar, of distribution. You need to teach them how to get to the festivals, how to go through the festivals and make, not lose their shirt on distribution. every filmmaker struggles with distribution, no matter if it's Steven Spielberg or any independent. If you can't teach them what the hell, oh, I'm sorry, excuse the language, what
Okay.
they do with their end product, they're ducks in the water. So you need to make that implement immediately into your program. And now that you have your film, how do I do distribution? How do I get this out to the market? How do I get the best eyeballs out and make this real? Because here's the thing, if you don't do advertising on your product, it's like blinking in the dark. You know what you're doing, but no one else knows what you're doing. So
Yeah.
you need to implement that ASAP on how to, and an Excel sheet I got from a friend that's very successful on doing um markets and getting his film where it needs to go, and I can send that to you. If you remind me in an email, I'll send
Yeah,
it
for
to
sure.
you.
Thank you.
But he's one of those more on the management side, where he did a spreadsheet on festivals, price, email, who to get in contact. But that is a huge obstacle, that whether you're been in the field for 20 years or you're just getting out, you need eyeballs on your product, or it's a waste of time. There's no reason to do it. Yes, it's fun to do, blah blah blah, but in the end, you've got to have people who will make the difference see your product. That comes with music, that comes with film. I mean, the founder of Leica, he started making his first film in his closet, and then got that in the proper festivals, and went on to get the heard it through the grapevine, et cetera, and then Leica was born, et cetera. Every up and coming filmmaker has made their rubbish in the closet. It doesn't matter. Truth be told, and this is probably a arrogant thing to say, but it's not hard to make film. What's hard is getting it in front of the right people and getting them to give you a callback on what you've shown them. So even if your first films are rubbish, make them, but put them out there, and they're going to be rubbish. It takes a while to learn how to walk. That's just the nature of the beast. But so the first thing I would implement is that pillar of distribution in the film festivals, where you got, if you want to pitch the kids, there's just a whole world of where to put your film to get it in front of people, and that's hugely important. Now, as for what stage of production you want your students to get at, first and foremost, you need to be able to teach them to say yes, and then figure it out as they're falling off the cliff. Let me give you an example.
Sure.
The Bally's was right next to my studio a few years ago, and I was doing a workout with a friend and a buddy, and we were working out together. And at the time, I didn't do live action films. I'd only done animation, so I'd been talking this executive ear off for a while. Animation. And he said, "Oh, by the way, do you do live action?" And I said, "Yes, I do. I didn't do live action at the time, but my secret is delegation. I have a huge book of people I know that are efficient at skills that I suck at, that I know their rates, I know I can call them, and I can be able." So when he asked me to do live action production for him, not only did I have a book full of people I could call on, but I knew exactly what they would cost, so I could make my budget work with his budget. So that's how I got to work on the post-production of Arnold Schwarzenegger's Maggie film. It was an independent film where he was a father that his daughter turned into a zombie. He had to make the decision to kill her or not. And so I got a chance to to go to his house and meet my hero and all that rubbish. And but what I mean by saying yes and then figuring it out as you're falling is you have to have a few foundation as you're falling. One is you have to have a network of friends or colleagues that you know what they're good at, you know what their rate is, you know how to make the budget work on when a client gives you, and that way it gives you a huge tool belt to say yes on jobs. And so with that first skill of saying yes, when people say, "Can you do that?" you say yes, but you also have the skill to back it up with talented friends or contacts. Okay. Now, as for going from script to screen, yes, it is true. The major jobs are in storyboards or in character design, backgrounds, scripts. ungodly amount of pre-production, but that's only if you want to work for the major studios. And we understand for every one job there's about 3,000 applicants that happen. So yes, a few of us are going to get in, a few of us are not going to get in. So there needs to be a plan B for when you're not picked by the major studios to work for them. And what that means is convincing clients that you can go from script to screen successfully. And so what that means is, what I do in my own programs when I teach in the summer is I have all my students find a joke, tell a joke, and then animate them sitting in a room telling a joke. And there's a few reasons for that. One is it helps them to give performance on telling a joke. Two is it helps them have a short 30-second something to have an end result, you know, and jokes are the universal icebreaker. And so and then by having them sit in their room is a bunch of Easter eggs of who they are as a person. So once they have a finished 30-second joke, not only do they have a performance, lip sync, Easter eggs of who they are, but they have a nice something that can forward to a potential employer, somebody that you know, at worst they'll get a little chuckle out of, you know, as they're going down the pipeline. And it's a very simple exercise that I do, because sometimes, you know, everyone wants to do Pixar right out of college, but you know, it takes one person 38 years to animate a feature film if they do it, you know, the style of Disney. Now Bill Plimpton, he's animated 6 feature films by himself. So he's, if you ever want to just be awed at an independent animator, Bill Plimpton, look up his story, read his information. I got a chance to meet with him and talk with him, and just a brilliant individual, and nothing but mad respect. But he is the exception to the rule, you know, when it comes to independent filmmaking. You need to make, ideally speaking, every year a 30-second short going from script to screen. What that does is that puts product in your store, if you will, that you can use to sell. Because in the end, if you're not selling something, you're not making money. And so that could either be, you know, and it also, it forces you to grow as an artist. And you don't know what you don't know until you're forced to work on no budget. You know, it's easy to throw millions of dollars after things, but if you don't have that resources, you've got to figure it out, and or ask somebody. You don't have to figure it out all by yourself. You can obviously ask professionals, and there's a lot of gracious professionals that'll help with feedback. But the short answer is I would condense your end product to a 30-second something. You're free to rip off the idea of having them tell a joke as they sit in their bedroom, because it's a smart idea. And to reiterate the reason why, it gives performance, it gives lip sync, it gives Easter eggs of things of that person in the end product, and it has a possible finished deadline. And in Hollywood, being finished with something is way more important than I'm working on something. I mean, we're all working on something, but having something to show is way more important than that. I'll let the front desk answer that. Okay. So yes, have them work on practical skills pre-production, but understand it's better to have finished product and make it short than just to have no tools in their tool belt, you know, because in the end, when somebody comes up to you and says, "Can you do this?" you want to say yes, and then figure out how to say yes. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, for sure. So just last one, and I know that we're almost there on time, but do you think software matters?
For the bigger studios, yes. For budgets, no. So this is my theory on the product. Let's pretend you have a restaurant and you have a soup that everybody loves. They don't care how you make the soup as long as the soup is good. Yeah. I have both the expensive software and the free software, and as long as my soup is tasteful and the client keeps coming back and asking for more, they don't go in the kitchen and ask, you know, what kind of skillet I used or what kind of knife I used. But with the bigger studios, for compatibility issues, or even for working with other teams, you are going to have a compatibility issue with a broader team that you're working with. So the answer is twofold. You know, for Unity, yes. For budget conscious individuals, just focus on getting the Supra. Henry Ford talked about being faithful with what you've got until bigger things come, and then you know that happens, because so many people, they let the excuse of I have no budget dictate that they can't make anything. And there's so many free software that is happening, and so many free things that are happening, that you know it really just takes tenacity and diligence to get stuff done. So big picture yes, small picture no.
That's awesome. That's really, really cool. Richard, thank you so much.
And also, can I get a copy of this when you get a chance? Is there a way
for sure. As soon as it's done downloading, I'll send it out to you.
All right, cool.
Yeah, so I'll send it. Can you send me an email?
Yep. Send me your email through Facebook, and I'll reply back to it with my email. I'll send me your email through Facebook, and I'll email you when I get your email.
There you go. We got it. That makes sense.
Old man tries to figure out technology.
Yeah, right. I know it, brother. Thank you. I appreciate it. You're the best. Thank you so much.
No problem.
This is really going to help out, and I'll send you a copy of this. And if you're free closer to the end of next year, I would love to send you an invite to check out some of our student films.
Sounds good. Just keep me in the loop.
All right, brother. Thank you. Appreciate you.
No problem.
Right. Bye.